Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnetdale.
And I'm not Jane S. Magnetdale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast. It's two queer trans women.
And our cat.
It's us and our cat. We're wifey types. The cat is not.
No, she's not a wifey type.
She's a cat
She's a baby type.
She's a little baby. And also an old lady, but also a baby.
Also an old lady, but a baby.
Also an old lady, but a baby. How are you doing?
I'm a sleepy little bean.
Yeah, we both had dinner and then promptly fell asleep on the sofa today.
It's been a long week.
Yeah,
It's only Tuesday.
It's only God, it's only Tuesday. I felt emotionally like it was at least Wednesday.
At least.
Maybe in the middle Thursday. Of the week. But no, it's been a long one. Yeah. For reference of where we're at in the week when we record this, for me, I was like, tomorrow's Nintendo Switch 2 Direct day. Big Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. That's going to be like the center of my week. I've got to work my week around that. And then Nintendo was like, what if we threw in an additional 7 hours of live streams this week? Do you want you up for that, Laura? I was like, no, that's a very sleepy thought. I'm going to fall asleep on the sofa now, Nintendo. Oh no, more video games.
Oh no, whatever will I do?
Whatever will I do? It's work ones, therefore I got to preemptively sleep.
Right?
What you been playing this week, Jane?
I think you know what I've been playing.
We've been playing at least one thing together, and it's really the only thing I've been playing.
I mean, it's the thing I played the most of.
Yeah, we've both been playing Abiotic Factor this week. You've been doing a solo playthrough, and then we've been doing a little co-op-y playthrough that has quickly caught a lot of the way back up to your solo playthrough.
Yeah, it's funny because I put maybe 30 hours into my playthrough, and then at the weekend I was like, "Hey, do you wanna play some together?" And you were like, "Okay, yeah, I'll give this a look outside of a review process."
Yeah,
and yeah, within 2 days we'd caught up with what had taken me 30 hours.
I think it was somewhere in the region of like 12 to 15 hours we'd caught up with your 30 hours. 11 hours. Was it 11? I know we've played about 16 hours total now, and I was trying to remember where that was,
Yeah.
Knowing what you're doing in that game and also having a second person to physically help be doing things really speeds you through the process.
Definitely. It definitely helps to not be blindly wandering around places.
I can't remember, is this the first time we talked about this game on this show?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so we should probably explain a little bit of what it is.
So this is a survival crafting game where you are... Imagine, like, you were an intern at Black Mesa.
Yeah.
You're going into this sort of scientific research facility. It's Half-Life meets SCP versus, like 7 Days to Die, that sort of survival crafting game.
It's very, I was down in the basement of Aperture Science, and then suddenly all of the things got out.
All of the things got out, and... like, during the tutorial, the person who's, like, showing you around is just... like, there's a couple of points where they're, like, really distracted on their radio. It's just like, well, what... No, it's fine. Okay, look, you just repackage that heater and move it over there and plug it in.
Yeah.
And I'm just no, it's okay. And then the tutorial ends with you're supposed to be going to the residential block, and the lift redirects you to the cafeteria.
Yes, and now everyone is locked down on the bottom floor and all the things have got out, and you have to do your little scavengy adventure of, like, I don't know, maybe you go into a block of office desks where there's, like, desks and computers and things, and you smash them all up, and now you've got scrap metal and scrap wood and some computer parts, and you use that. Maybe you find a sofa and you turn it into a bed, and then you, like, steal a fridge, and you got to find a way to power it, and now you make your little homemade soups before you go off in your little adventures. To be like
cleaning your water.
Yeah, you gotta boil down the water to get all the bad stuff out of it, so you got good, clean, drinkable water.
Mm-hmm.
Or I brought back my monster parts and I gotta make them into something edible.
Soup.
So that I have enough food and sleep and go to the toilet meter that I can go off on another excursion to fill my pockets with stuff.
I've got to develop super tomatoes.
Yep.
Which are more filling and more thirst-quenching than other tomatoes.
Oh no, at night, a security robot saw me, and now I've got to create some kind of system where if a robot is following me, I can destroy it while being safe.
in order to get important robot parts, which I will use to make other things.
Here's an invisible friend that is just, like, occasionally haunting you, and when you see it, you have to just sort of stare at it, or it gonna kill you.
Yeah. Yep.
That last one, particularly fun in co-op, when I just hear a yelp from Jane, and I look over at her character, and seemingly nothing is wrong. And
nothing happening, I've just stopped and staring in one direction.
You okay? And then you are dead.
It's the Layak. The Layak is here. I don't think I turned round quick enough.
My favourite thing about that stupid thing is, in theory, it could haunt either of us. Like, I think the idea is, in co-op, every night it could change who it's haunting. It has a
chance of switching who it's haunting. I don't think it's ever haunted you.
Oh, it haunted me once. It's haunted me once. But for about, I'm going to say, like, the first 5 hours that this was a mechanic, every time it happened, it was you. And I was like, I'm sure this is a real thing. I'm certain it's a real thing. Something's killing you. But, like, I did look at your screen one time to see the thing to go, I needed to know it was real. I needed to see what was going to happen when I saw it.
Yeah, and there it was.
It sure was a friend haunting you.
Yeah, and I've now reached a point in the game where I now need to, like, regularly encounter it and try and squeeze its essence out.
Ugh.
You have to stop milking all of the things.
Yeah, we've had this conversation a couple times while playing it. It's the kind of genre of game that you just kind of assume would be randomized procedural environments, but it's very clearly not. It's very clearly
It's beautifully handmade.
Yeah.
A number of times, like, it's done, like, a perfect Dark Souls moment of, we've got through this really long and complicated bit, we unlocked a door, and, oh, hey, we're back here. We're back in this place. Or, here is a tram stop that takes you back to that place.
There's a lot of doors that can only be opened from one side, and as soon as you open them from one side, you realise it's taking you back to someone. You're like, oh, I've now got a shortcut to that place that goes the quick way. Hell yeah.
Yep. I was driving a forklift truck around yesterday evening, and I can now get between all three of our bases in the course of about 2 minutes. So it never feels too bad about having to, like, nip between one base and another base. And that's the other thing. This game is pretty freaking huge. Like, we're probably less than halfway through the game so far. We've just got to the science block and the wildlife pens. So it's been, like, one starter base way at the beginning, a second one in the manufacturing area where we were being chased by religious zealot military people who were there to stop this facility from opening portals to strange places. Because that's the other thing. Not only have you got this huge, like, sensible and like sensibly designed building.
Yeah.
Like, they talk a lot in level design about how you shouldn't necessarily build something that is too realistic.
Yeah.
Because that won't necessarily be fun. But, like, the way most of these rooms work together and, like, loop together and, like, yeah, there's a little breakout cafeteria area next to the office cubicle area. There's the exec area sort of just around the corner from that. There's a swimming pool near to that as well. And, like, locker rooms and stuff.
It's physically sensible in that, like, you could make a model of it and it would make sense.
Yeah.
Even if you stop to think about what's in the rooms and going, yeah, there's no building that would be laid out like this.
I don't know. A lot of it I feel like does make sense.
But it's enough that it's like, the variety is really high of stuff to encounter in a way that is not, like, glaringly you instantly go, this is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, interesting little mechanics I very much enjoy about it. I like the way that you invent new ideas of things that you can craft.
Yeah.
Of every time you, like, pick up a new thing for the first time, if you now have picked up all the things that are needed to craft a new thing, in your little brain vault, you'll be like, this idea, it's got, 3 or 4 little coloured slots, and one thing of a corresponding colour goes in each slot, and you're sort of trying to work out, based on the silhouette and what it's called, what things would probably make that thing. And you can trial and error it.
How will I
otherwise-
make the pressure gauge staff? Well, I'm guessing a pressure gauge.
Yeah.
I'm guessing a metal pipe because it's a weapon.
Yeah, and you can feel smart if you sort of preempt it by thinking it through logically, but you'll never get stuck learning how to make a thing, because worst case, you try the things and it'll sort of grey out the things that were wrong and lock in the things that were correct, and you just keep slotting things in.
Yeah, and the game's still in early access, so like that might give you more XP or something later on. But for now, it is just a trial and error thing, and you can feel smart for getting it right first time or not.
And I like how that works.
And then on top of all that other level design, you've got these little portal worlds.
Yeah, you do.
Like, the first one's just a tiny little floating island in space that very much reminded me of the end of Half-Life 1. And then, like, you've got the, like, Silent Hill place with the giants.
Oh yeah, fog-filled town with weird gangly creatures walking around.
Yes.
I hid in child's playground equipment trying
You
not to be
did.
seen by a big tall friend.
I want to go on this line.
There was a train. There was a weird
I fucking love that train.
hyper train in the middle of nowhere, and I like the weird hyper train.
I love that weird hyper train. I
Yeah.
love that you can find a model of that train on that train so that you could take it home and have a train in your base.
And I like that there's these weird, surreal... They all feel like they tell a story, while being very clearly not the world you're used to, that runs on the rules you understand. It's just like a little dip into a reality where things are a bit different, and then back you go.
Yes, I got to the furniture shop yesterday, and that was frankly terrifying.
Yeah, it's not usually the kind of genre of game I would play a lot of, but in co-op, I've been having a lot of fun playing it with you. It's been nice as like we got to work together, we're in solid... It's that vibe of scraping together at the end of the world together is kind of nice.
Yeah, and it's been interesting sort of watch you get a bit more confident with things. Like, when we started, you were a bit like, okay, I have found a little niche, I'm going to do the cooking, I will stand here and I will cook all of the soup. It's like, we're running out of recipes. We're running out of the ingredients to make soup pots, and there's so much spare soup lying around.
Yeah, but I wanted to get my... Well, I wasn't making all that much soup. I was making the meat so that we could make soup, because we had the vegetables, and the vegetables were going to go off, so we needed to be able to make soup at some point. So I wanted to cook things until I could make soup.
Yeah, good soups.
And yeah, maybe I started a little focused, but I will say that is because there is a slightly daunting amount of options at first.
Yeah, like, but I appreciate that, like, as you've played a bit more, you'll occasionally just be like, yep, okay, I'm off now. Yeah. Like, where are you off? Oh, I've just completely stripped an office out. I've got my little
flatbed trolley,
my little flatbed trolley, my little B&Q flatbed trolley.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue was at first I was like, I don't know what's helpful and what's gonna help us in the short to long... Like, I didn't have enough of a sense of, like, what are our needs that are most important to address quickly? And as such, I was like, I'm gonna follow your lead on what we need, and if I don't know what we need, I'll stay home to make soup.
Soup. But yeah, like, yeah, and it's not even finished yet.
Yeah.
Like, I'm basically through the next section of the game, and that's been wild and weird and slightly terrifying. And yeah, I'm very much enjoying the game so far, and I think they've done a great job.
Yeah.
And I look forward to exploring more of it and finding out how it's going. But yeah, already I've got 30 hours out of it, so
yeah,
not feeling too bad about that. And it's got like a low poly, slightly pixely style graphics, like almost like a Doom level, but actually 3D rather than sprite based. And yeah, I'm having a great time with it. Very much enjoying Abiotic Factor, even though at first I was desperately confused by the whole situation.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you played anything else?
Honestly, not really. It's been a big week of, like... I've watched a bunch of things, but it's been a lot of, like, preparing content around games more than it has been playing games. What about you? You've been playing other things this week?
I played a couple of things. I played Spirit Swap, Lo-Fi Beats to Match 3 to.
Yeah!
Yeah, we talked about this a few weeks ago when you played through it, and I was like, you know what, I'll give that a try. I liked the idea of the spell stuff, and That game has really fucking weird pacing.
Yeah, you had the same experience as me, which was the accidentally finishing the story suddenly out of nowhere that you didn't intend to.
Yeah, it's weird, and I think that is almost explained by watching the end of the credits and realising it was a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Because, to me, it very much feels like they were like, hey, this is our plan, this is our idea, we're going to raise money via Kickstarter and we're going to put it out. And, like, the music's good. I very much enjoy the music. The match 3 works. I think that the difficulty levels aren't great, or they don't scale terribly well. Because there's only 3 different difficulty settings. The basic one, chill, is fun, fine, good sort of switch your brain off level of match 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one is spicy, and spicy's really fucking hard. Like, it's like, it is a much higher difficulty level and not, like, on a sliding scale. It's like, I'm probably only winning 1 in 6 matches. Which is a problem, because once you've got through, like, the base level of the base plot of the game, you suddenly have to do, like, there's lives involved in this. So if you're not winning 3 in a row at least, or 3 out of 6, you're not going to be able to progress to the next part of the story. The other thing is, like, it tells you quite early on, like, hey, don't forget to go back to your home, because you can equip new spells and mess around with your furniture and stuff, which seems like a lovely idea. But the plot seems so constantly, oh, hey, you need to go here and do this. Oh, do this and that. And it finally got to a moment where it was like, oh, this feels like I've reached a point that this is the end of today. And I was like, cool. And I went back to my thing, and I changed my spells about, and I slightly futzed around with my room, and I went to the next thing, and it was the end. That was the end credits.
The end of the story feels like the end of, like, an Act 1, maybe.
Yeah.
Or, like, a first, like, mini-narrative. It doesn't clue you in that's the whole thing very well.
Well, that's not even quite the whole thing,
yeah.
But that's the point. It's like, hey, you rolled credits, so...
Yeah.
That's the end of something. And it's like, hey, don't worry, there's plenty more to do after the credits, which almost feels like, hey, we kickstarted it, we released what we could make with the budget we had after Kickstarter took its fees and so forth. But don't worry, we put some more in, but, like, now a lot of the conversations aren't voice acted anymore. Okay, like, you'll play a couple of matches or have a couple of little interactions that are completely unvoiced, and then it'll be like, hey, the next one's voiced. Hey, treat for you, the next one's voiced. And it really does feel like they ran out of budget and couldn't keep going with whatever their plan was. Like, I'm told there is, like, a whole series of romance options if you want to go through that with one or all of the characters. But it's just like, the pacing feels weird to the point where it just feels like what happens before the credits is unfinished, and what happens after the credit is what they had left over. And, yeah, like, the difficulty is weird because it never seemed to go up really at any point during the game. And then trying to adjust it with, because you can change it from the like, load save screen. But, like, the fact that it's only got 3 difficulty levels and the second one is so much higher than the first that...
Yeah.
It doesn't feel super well balanced in that respect, but I did like the music, I do like the match-3-ness of it, I love the spells idea, I enjoyed the plot, I like the artwork, but, I just wish it flowed a bit better.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you played anything else?
Not really.
No?
It's been a lot of writing about games and not a huge amount of playing them. I've dipped my toes into a bunch of things, but not enough that I have anything huge to say about them, other than I have some light accessibility opinions about them. Like, I started playing Atomfall, the new Rebellion game. Interesting game, first-person sort of survival exploration game set in a post-nuclear incident Northern England. that game has a pretty major bug problem that I encountered and for the first 3 days didn't have a solution for. And now I've seen a solution for it, kind of. Sometimes the sound will just instantly stop. All audio stops.
Right.
And you have to do an entire game reset to get it back.
Oh.
And it seemed to be weirdly frequent, and I couldn't work out what was causing it. It's something to do with the process of saving.
Right.
When you do a save, there is a random chance that sound will die.
Right.
The game has autosave, which is why seemingly randomly the sound will go.
Right.
The default time for autosaves is every 3 minutes if you're in safety and not in a situation that would be a bad one to save in. I turned that up to once every minute because I was like, look, I want really aggressive autosaving. I appreciate that in a game. So I was rolling the dice more than I needed to.
Right.
Turns out, the autosave doesn't make the sound die. If you specifically set it to once every 10 minutes autosave, that dodges the bug.
Huh.
Don't know why.
Wow.
Yeah, so, Atomfall seems interesting. I am waiting for a fix for that bug before I jump back in.
Yeah.
Because it's weird and jarring, particularly for a game where you're, trying to use audio to avoid getting noticed by guards and stuff. Suddenly having no audio and not being able to hear where the guards are is, not ideal.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, what about you? What else have you been playing?
Oh, just quickly on Atomfall, it's really funny. I've heard a few people talking about this game. I was chatting to someone today who was like, I am really, really, really digging Atomfall. I'm really enjoying it. I've had a blast with it so far. I'm probably going to stop soon and just leave it there. Because you can really see that it was slapped over the top of the Sniper Elite engine. Yeah. And it's the environments that I've seen look quite pretty, quite lush and green and...
I appreciate a lot of what it's doing accessibility-wise. It is not the genre for me. It's one of those things where I start playing it, I'm like, I feel like I'm playing Stalker. One of those, everything in this world is out to kill me, and it's going to be a whole slow grind of, the place I need to get to is over there, and there's 30 people trying to kill me between me and there, and I'm going to have to retry the segment again and again until I get there.
Oh, dear.
And, it's just not the genre for me.
No.
I'm more here for, I am overpowered power fantasy than everyone is an elite killing machine and I'm just a little guy.
Just a little guy.
Just a little guy. Yeah, you been playing anything else?
I've been playing a game called Cataclismo.
Ooh.
Which is sort of a tower defense, sort of a castle builder. You exist in a world where the mist kind of took over at some point. Anything that goes in the mist kind of becomes this terrifying horror thing and tries to attack humanity. You have to produce enough oxygen in order to keep a number of people safe from the mist and drive the mist back. And also, you're every night being attacked by these horrors.
Ooh.
So you're gathering stone and wood and things and building little castles and reinforcing them. And the taller your castle walls are, the more reinforced they get.
Mm-hmm.
So you're basically trying to just build and defend yourself from the horrors and train archers and things to stand on your castle walls and deal with the enemy while grabbing as much resources as you can. It's it's a fascinating little game, real dark vibe, and I've only played through a few levels, but I've been enjoying just the depth of futzing around you can get into. You're given all these different pieces for just here's wood bits, here's stone bits. Do you want to build all wood bits all the way through? Do you want to build stone bits around the outside so that that's extra safe, and then just build wooden gantries for everyone to climb up? It is a fascinating little game, and I'm very much enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
But more. I do like a tower defense game. And lastly, I finally finished A Ranger, a role puzzling adventure.
How did you find it?
I enjoyed it. It's very sweet. I enjoyed the plot and a lot of the characters, and the messaging about beware of the static. The static is bad.
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating little game. Very cute characters, especially Mog. I love Mog.
Doesn't outstay its welcome lengthwise.
No.
It's a very manageable length playthrough.
It seems like there are like loads of extra things I could have done.
Yeah.
There was a point where it was just like, you're at the end of the game, it was like, I've been playing this for ages now, and I'm kind of ready to move on to something else.
Yeah.
So I didn't go on and do, like, I think there was at least four things I did not get to. And, well, possibly 6, because I think 4 of those things opened to other things. But, yeah, like, it felt like there was a decent amount of things that I could have been doing if I'd got round to it. But, yeah, especially that, like, last section, that's really fascinating. I love the idea of just because we've talked about this before. This is the one where, like, you're on a grid-based floor. Yeah. And as you move along, things in your row or column will move along in that direction with you.
If you slide your row to the right, everything on that row will slide to the right, and the rightmost space will wrap around to the left.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, and sometimes if there's a thing on there, you might not be able to move to a degree. And sometimes if there's an object in front of you, you can only push it as far as the static object on that row or column. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, now I need to work out how I can move that item and move other things around. And it's a really good time. Very much enjoyed a role puzzling adventure. That's everything I've played.
Well then, time for this.
Thank you for coming. I'm a bit concerned about the productivity of your team.
Okay.
We've brought you all back into the office, you see, because it was important to touch base more frequently and get some FaceTime. And
you did insist that was
yes,
the case.
Absolutely. But some people that, may or may not exist, may or may not have said that they felt slightly disconnected from their team. And so we made sure to bring everyone back into the office because of that. It wasn't just me that said that, and we, ranked that as very important. We brought you all into the office so that you could, get more FaceTime, and obviously we've, had the weekly meeting and the quarterly meeting and the annual meeting and
the all-day meeting
and the catch-up and, the community progress meeting and the planning meeting and
essentially the all-day meeting, yes.
Well, it was 7 different meetings. Let's be fair. It's been
I didn't get to leave the meeting room, so.
You went to the toilet at least once, and I think that should count. And we brought you sandwiches. We brought you the little sandwiches, sandwiches that we brought in, and I don't notice you didn't eat any of them. It's not very team player of you, but I think
you didn't pay any attention to any of my dietary requirements.
Well, we can't be expected to just, have to. You need to be a team player. If
only I'd been at home, working from home, where I could have provided for my own dietary needs.
Well, then you wouldn't have been in the meetings, and we needed you in all of the different meetings.
Did you need me in all the meetings, did you?
The problem we have now is that your team has been very, very unproductive today. I can't see that anything's been done, to be honest.
Oh, that might be something to do with the fact that you made us all be in a day of meetings and not at our desk doing work, or ideally at our home office desks doing work.
I just think you're not being flexible enough and enough of a team player, so I'm going to have to put your entire team on report, and I'm going to insist that you do better at tomorrow's meeting to improve productivity.
I'll be more flexible. I'll find a way to stretch my arm all the way back to my desk while still being in the meeting, I guess.
Excellent. That's what we like to see. Being a thoughtful, flexible worker. Excellent. Hey, Laura.
Yes?
We've got a new sponsor for Realsies.
Who's our new sponsor for Realsies?
Well, as you'll see from my hoodie here for Realsies, I swear I'm being serious. .lol.note for Realsies.
Yeah, I see your thing. It says, I swear I'm being serious. Really? Yeah. I assume that's because of the date we're recording this.
It is. It's the 1st of April. Traditionally a day for fools and for fooling. and just lying to people.
Well, see, yeah, if you weren't wearing this shirt, I would be concerned that this wasn't a real sponsor segment.
Oh no, it's for real.
And that this was some kind of like skit or joke. But it does say that, so this is very clearly a real sponsor.
Yeah. So if you need a item of clothing you can wear once a year, or if you're the kind of person who's got often gets accused of sounding sarcastic.
Oh, that old chestnut. I'm being sincere, but I accidentally voiced wrong, I guess?
Yeah, apparently I autistic voiced wrong.
Yeah.
And now you assume the worst of me.
Oh god, I could really do with this year round, huh?
So that's, I swear I'm being serious, really.lol.net, enter the code Q&PS for realsies, and you can get 15% off your first 3 garments.
Ooh.
For realsies.
For realsies.
So, what have you put in your eyes?
What have I put in my eyes? We watched some things at cinema together.
Quite a few things this week.
Shall we start with... Let's start with Novocain.
Yeah.
We saw a film, it's called Novocain, about a man who has, I forget what the acronym is, but it's the medical condition where your body does not recognize temperature or pain properly, and he's starting to fall for a girl, and then the girl gets kidnapped in a bank robbery. Now he's got to go save her. It is a comedy, violent action film.
Yes.
It is a violent action film where, like, you know, maybe at some point guy's getting tortured with a knife stuck in his finger, but he's not feeling the pain, so he's doing a comedic, like, oh, I know what pain feels like, and this is it. This is the worst. Don't do that again. Oh, this sure is what pain is like to experience. And I thought it was a good, fun film that, while a bit squeamishly violent in places,
a couple of times, yeah, but generally so comedically over the top that I didn't feel too bad.
It reminded me a lot of watching The Monkey recently, the
Monkey Man. The Monkey, yeah.
The Stephen King horror one where it's like, yeah, it was violent, but it was always so comedic I couldn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
But the thing, weirdly, I had as my, like, nicest takeaway about Novocain was the opening act before, like, the dramatic action stuff kicks off. Surprisingly real, grounded take on, like, the reality of this is a disability and we're not going to pretend that's not the case.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because very often a movie like this would just, like, be, it's a superpower. Yeah. And I guess it kind of gets treated like that eventually. But he does talk about, like, the way he has lived his life, the way his parents just, like, kind of locked him away, like, I was always told, my parents found out that, like, the life expectancy for people with my condition was 25, so they kind of locked me away.
They told me to only consume, like, liquid foods in case I bit through my tongue and didn't know.
Yeah.
And, like, as much as it's
and I can feel my tongue, and I've still bitten it to bleeding pulp a couple of times.
And as much as, like, it's used as a mechanism for almost a little superpower-esque in terms of, like, some of the things he's able to pull off in the dramatic action sequence, by the end of the film, they are sure to remind you, no, he's not invulnerable. He's not taking damage. He got to the end of that film, but the state that he is in, it's like, yeah, he didn't feel any of it, but he fucked himself up real bad.
Yes, I mean,
in a way he is lucky to have survived and he's gonna have to pay for later.
And let's not forget, like, almost after his very first injury, he went and saw a guy and went, ooh, is that an EpiPen? Cool, fill me with adrenaline, I'll see if that'll help.
Power through this.
Yeah.
But, like, weirdly, the thing that I gravitated to most out of all the stuff in that, like, very normalizing setup of, like, this is a disability and we're not going to kind of lose sight of that, is he has an alarm set to remember to go and pee every X number of hours, just in case it's I forgot that that's the thing I should do and I can't feel that my, like, bladder's going to...
As someone with ADHD, I could probably use that.
Yeah, but
it's the 3 hour go and have a try alarm.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where, like, so often, specifically... disability as it relates to bathroom use is such a taboo to acknowledge, and it was such a normalized thing here of, yeah, it's just the mechanics and the routine you have to set up sometimes around disability, the very mundane things that just exist throughout the day, no matter what you're up to, and, like, that was one of those where I was like, I like this as you didn't lose sight of the fact that, like, yeah, we're going to treat it as a little superpowery, but it is a disability.
Yes. Yeah, and the tennis balls on sharp corners.
Yes, all of his doors having tennis balls to soften, like, so you don't accidentally just absolutely jam into yourself. Yeah, it's...
Like, I think it's leprosy can also do that to you. And I've heard about people being, like, super careful about, like, how they, like, have to regularly just check themselves for damage.
Yeah.
And, you know... Keep an eye on various things, make sure they're super clean, because obviously wounds can be, like, a big issue. And, I appreciated that some thought was put into that, and also just the ridiculous over-the-top nature of a few things. And just some content warning for gore in, like, the last 10 minutes of that film.
I also really like some of the supporting cast. Like, I like the internet best friend character. It's really nice.
Is he just typecast as the internet best friend?
A little bit, but I like the way he is set up for his little moment with the police is fucking great.
Oh yeah.
I like the female lead. I think her arc's really interesting, and I like the range of her performance throughout that film.
Yeah, I thought that opening 15 minutes was so incredibly sweet. Like that date and bumping into the school bully at the bar.
Oh yeah. It's got that vibe of you just kind of get it in a way that I don't have to translate myself and explain myself to you in a way that's really... It's rare that I see a romance portrayed quite like that, and it's very sweet.
And also, it felt like, when you get a bunch of, like, neurodivergent or, like, clinically depressed people who've, experienced severe depression and suicidal ideation, when you get a group of them together at a party and they all just start talking frankly to each other, and occasionally you'll get someone who's never experienced that sort of walk in the room, look, just turn around and walk away. It's just like, this conversation was not for me.
Yeah. It's a real nice film.
Yeah,
I'm very glad I saw it. It's a film I would definitely see again. I had a great time with it. Should we talk about other ones we saw together?
Yeah, we saw RoboCop.
Yeah, we did. We saw the director's cut of RoboCop on the big screen at the cinema.
Yeah. Which, considering I just finished RoboCop Rogue City.
Yeah. The original RoboCop holds up really well.
Yeah.
Both, like, aesthetically and thematically.
Yes, it's terrifying that so much of that film is still like, yep.
Yeah, a lot of...
You sure do you want to do some stuff with AI, huh?
Yeah, a lot of that film's takes on, like, wouldn't it be fucking terrifying if we militarized the police, particularly by introducing AI-powered machines into the police force that were not really accountable for the deaths they cause, and maybe, were a big metaphor for the fact that, like, police are sort of programmed to not go after other police even when they've done stuff wrong.
Yeah, there is a little bit of propaganda maybe in this film, because the actual cops, the actual police force, are, kind of, I mean, yes, they are against a wave of crime so dramatically over the top and incredibly violent.
Yeah, but it is critiquing things that are a problem in modern policing, even if it's letting the police get off a little easy from it.
I agree, yeah.
I think it's... But there are some conversations in there that I think are genuinely interesting about, like, the actual police characters, such as this film addressing the idea that the police is one of those emergency services kind of jobs where it is really hard to put together strike action in a ethical way.
Yes.
And, like...
Especially when you have a major crime wave that's kind of being stoked by corporations.
Yeah, and the idea that it's hard... It's possible to get people to put up with things they shouldn't have to in a profession when theirs is a job that, like, a proper walkout strike has the kind of consequences it's going to have.
Yeah.
Like, that's an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
It's funny that I always know it's a comedy and a satire, and it's not until I'm sat down watching it that every time it catches me off guard with how funny it is.
Yeah, the adverts and the weird little I'd buy that for $1 sitcom.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah.
I've been saying that to myself all fucking week since that film.
It's quite the
it's quite the echolalia. But even outside of that, just the way that stuff's paced sometimes. I think about the first time that RoboCop stops the robbery in that convenience store.
Yes.
And he's being shot out by the guy, and the guy's very confused. And RoboCop just grabs him by one arm, and it feels like they sped the film up briefly, because he inhumanly fast just whips this man against a wall.
Yep.
And then he's like, "Your crime has been dealt with," and just off he just
I am a robot.
It's the pacing of it is sometimes very straight faced. It's beautifully paced.
Yeah. And I also remembered watching that in primary school, and not in actual school, but while I was still at primary school, and Emil getting hit by the toxic waste, and then just being all mutated, and his fingers hanging like sausage skins.
So much of that film is not particularly violent, even when what's happening is very violent.
It's very violent, but it's comedically over the top.
Yeah, I think of when Officer Murphy is getting killed.
Yes.
And he's getting his limbs blown off, but it's comedic chunks flying, and it's never lingering on close
and no one
shots
ever
of
needs to
gore.
reload unless it's for dramatic effect.
It's exaggerated in a way that's very different from the toxic sludge, where it's just several minutes of a man in genuine terror as his skin ceases to skin.
Yeah.
It's the one... It's so out of place, that scene. I love it.
Yeah, it's a wild film, and I've never seen it on the big screen before because I was way too young. It was good to watch. Speaking of Paul Verhoeven, I also went and saw Starship Troopers. For all the same reasons. I definitely didn't spot all the fashiness when I first watched it. 1997 me was way too young to really get into the depths on that one. It's not subtle at all, is it?
No, it is not.
It is not. No. And obviously, the fact that all of the the heroic citizens who can now vote are missing limbs, because that's what being in the army is like.
Yeah.
Another thing that definitely didn't come to mind previously is there's a lot of white people living in Buenos Aires.
Yeah, there
At
is.
what point in this universe's timeline did America just completely conquer Mexico?
Look, we had this conversation after you saw it. It sure is implied that one of the primary ways you're allowed to have children is if you enlist, and
yes.
That sure seems like a recipe for the kind of eugenics that a certain supremacist governments would really enjoy.
Yeah.
And I feel like that feels like it's relevant to some of the makeup of the places in this film.
Yeah, that's not a spoken part of the plot, but it's definitely something that is noticeable to me now.
It's one of those things where you start thinking about the logic of some of the fascist steps set up in this film.
Yeah.
And it makes sense of some of the initially weird seeming unspoken choices the film makes.
Yes, and much like RoboCop, it is interspersed with all these little TV segments.
Yeah.
Would you like to know more?
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
Just glamorizing the military and talking about all that war propaganda stuff.
Yeah.
And then also combined with the weird adverts. Not quite like Nukem, the family board game of... But it was good to give that a watch as a proper adult who can sort of analyse these things a bit better than I used to.
Yeah.
Then we went and saw the National Theatre production of Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, we did.
With Steve Coogan playing
Four
parts.
Yeah.
And it was adapted by Armando Iannucci.
Yeah. So this is a stage play. Essentially, the vague plot is one RAF commander takes it upon himself to during the Cold
US Air Force.
Yes. So an Air Force general takes it upon himself to launch a nuclear strike preemptively on Russia in the Cold War in a moment of fluoride-based paranoia. And the cascading series of events as a bunch of men in the military realize that there were woeful safeguards put in place to turn back the calling of nuclear Armageddon.
Well, you see, they had all the safeguards, but there were safeguards on the safeguards to stop anyone from being able to countermand the order if it had actually gone through and they'd been been some sort of attack.
It's this comedy of errors about, the severe paranoia of the Cold War and we've got to make sure that if someone calls the strike and is doing it legitimately, that the Russians can't, pretend to be us and call it off. So we've got to put all these safeguards in place to prevent it being called off. But those safeguards are going to make it so that we can't call it off very easily if it's real.
Yeah.
And the escalating series of men trusting that men can be trusted with unilateral war power, and other men going, I don't care about the safeguards, I want to feel powerful and do the war thing, and how those two things are an incredibly dangerous combination in war.
Yes.
As a comedy.
Yes. Yes. The ineptitude is funny, the double talk is funny. The guy who plays the US Air Force general went a little Trumpy at times, which was appropriate.
Yeah.
It was really well written. It was genuinely funny despite being just frankly terrifying concepts.
It's one of those, as terrifying as the concept was, it's very clearly anti-war, and this is a cautionary tale about the terrifying thing.
I've never seen the Stanley Kubrick original, because I'm not a huge fan of Stanley Kubrick movies.
Yeah.
But, we saw this advertised as a thing that was coming to our cinema as a live broadcast from a theatre to the nation. I was like, that's just a nice idea. I'll go and see some theatre that doesn't cost me £90 a ticket.
I'm gonna have a nice front row seat and not spend silly money per ticket.
Yeah.
And it was very well staged to get the good feeling of being at the theatre.
It really was, yeah. We even had an intermission.
Yeah. Steve Coogan, you mentioned offhandedly that he plays 4 characters. He does a great job of playing 4 very distinct roles in it.
The quick changes are incredible to the point where there's a couple of moments, there's one particular one where he picks up the phone to go and have a conversation and he sort of walks to the back of the room. And you can still see him sort of hovering there, holding the phone. And then another one of his characters comes in from a side door, and you're just like, hang on, I missed. Maybe it was something to do with some of the camera work, because it's not a static shot.
If I'd known he was playing 2 characters in that scene and had known to look for it, I might have noticed it. Yeah. But the illusion works so well.
Yeah.
Because, it set up the idea he'll play 1 character per setting.
Yes.
And it's whether they did a quick change for another actor or what I believe they did, which was they used a projection of him that he stepped through the curtain and a projection took his place. But whatever the technique, suddenly you think he's there on stage and it's very believable he's there on stage, and then he walks on stage with completely different hair.
Yes.
You're like, okay.
Yeah. I also really appreciated the scenes on the bomber, because they were using just a little cockpit set that was set up in front of 3 large projector screens showing the back of the plane and the wings of the plane and the environment done as something, I guess, Unity or something.
Yeah, so it meant they could do things the plane's pulling up to avoid a thing. Oh, you can see you can see from the mountains below the ship that it's pulling up, and they're trying to avoid a missile, and maybe if the missile hits, you see the explosion. And, like, all of this being done to what was a very basic cockpit set.
Yeah.
Was, like, very well done.
Really clever use of, like, slightly more modern effects in while still being, like, a stage production. I thought that was really clever.
Yeah. And I think the, like, keeping it to its basically 3 settings did a great job of, like, allowing for some comedic parts of the plot don't know what's happening in other parts of the plot very well. Your 3 basic settings are the war room where all of the people are making their big discussions of what's happening, how close are we to war, what do we do about it. You've got the bomber, and you've got the office of the person who knows the code to call off the war but won't tell anyone the code, and has locked the 2 of them in a room.
Yes, and in that scene we have Coogan as a RAF commander who's working at the US military base.
Yes.
Who's currently locked in a room with this general, who's, like, just drinking grain alcohol and smoking cigars.
I've got to get the recall code out of you, but I have to not make it clear that's what I'm trying to do, while humouring you and your terrifying conspiracies.
With his very Jeremy Paxman accent.
Yes. In the war room, he's playing both the president and
the ex-Nazi scientist.
Yep,
Dr. Strangelove.
And in the bomber, he is playing like the lead pilot in the bomber,
the major who's
a bit too excited about the fact he's finally going to get to bomb those communists.
Yes,
and very ready for that to be his defining moment.
Yes.
Yeah, fascinating production.
Yeah, I'd seen it advertised a couple of times. I was like, you know what? If it's not, like, super expensive, because I know some of these theatre broadcast ones can be, like, a bit more expensive than a regular theatre ticket, but cinema ticket. But
even at a little more expensive than a regular cinema ticket, I would see stuff like this more often.
Yeah.
I like seeing theatre productions, and sometimes the tickets are really silly prices. Like, I've been looking at Hadestown recently, trying to find a balance of a reasonable position seat at a reasonable price. And part of me's like, I know it's had a pro shoot recently. Do I just wait the year and a half, 2 years for it to come around to the cinemas and watch the theatre recording? Because it was not a bad experience.
I feel like the best luck I've had with, like, theatre tickets recently was when we went to see Bleak Expectations.
Oh, that was fantastic.
And I got us 3 rows from the front for, like, £25 a ticket.
Yeah, like, it being, like, a decent row near the front, I don't mind, like, 40, 50 quid for a live theatre ticket, It's when you start getting toward, like, 100 plus, where I'm like, I'm a bit more hesitant. It's got to be particularly special if I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And, there are things where I'm like, I wouldn't spend that, like, £50+ a ticket for a good seat, but I'll spend 20 or whatever for a nice, like, cinema broadcast. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that. I hope we get more interesting theatre in our cinema.
Yeah. What about you? You watched anything else this week?
That's everything I've watched.
That's most of what I've watched. I watched one other thing. I've been keeping up on... I can't remember if we watched any of this together previously. I've been keeping up on Invincible.
Dun, dun, dun.
Did we ever watch any of this together?
Yeah, we watched, I think, the first season together.
Yeah, I recently was like, there's been a couple of seasons since... I'm curious, I want to catch up on it. So I've been watching through. Surprisingly good superhero show, that. I've been enjoying it. I've been having a good time with it. Without getting into spoilery things, Season 3 has been very interesting as a season-long interrogation of, is it possible for someone who has done something terrible to be reformed? And where is the line that you draw where you stop feeling like you, on an emotional, personal level, can believe someone bad has been reformed? And where do you draw the line between, I believe fundamentally I shouldn't kill people even if they've done something wrong, and the idea of, I didn't kill that person, and they got out and they killed more people, am I responsible for that? Should I have killed them in the first place? It's wrestling with a lot of the... Like, when people talk a lot about Batman, and Batman's no-kill rule fundamentally in a lot of stories, leading to a lot more death, because he doesn't kill the Joker and the Joker gets out for the umpteenth time and kills a fucking 30,000 people again.
Yeah.
While
also being a billionaire.
Yeah, and Batman will say to that, well, no, I'm as bad as them. If I kill one of them, I'll have to kill everyone and I'll be just as bad as them. Whereas this takes a much more nuanced look at, it is possible to both believe that your first port of call shouldn't be murder in response to a terrible person, while also acknowledging sometimes making that choice will lead to more death, and you cannot know which situation is going to be which in the moment. You just have to make a decision and go with it. And that this is fundamentally one of the great moral weights placed on the shoulders of people with superpowers, and that the fact that there is no good answer will fundamentally be something that will haunt you, and you can't know if you made the right choice. You're just going to have to keep hoping you do. And I was like, that's a real interesting thing to explore in a superhero show.
Yeah.
I had a good time watching that.
Nice.
It continues to be an interesting show.
Yeah.
That's everything I've watched this week.
Well then.
Time for this.
Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, I've been coming up with new plans.
Right.
New marketing plans.
Right.
New ways to get our game to sell better than the other games.
I mean, that's what I want. I want our game to sell better than everything else.
Yeah, so usually we, strategically pick when we think's going to be the best day for sales. But I got a new plan.
Right.
This year, with Call of Duty, we're gonna haul off on announcing our release date.
Right.
We're gonna wait until our biggest competitor, War of Gunfire, announces their release date.
Right.
Because, if we let them announce theirs first, they're probably going to pick whatever the best day is. Which, I know what I'm saying sounds like we're giving up on the best day.
Yeah, that's going to create, a lot of talk. A lot of people are going to be very excited that people are going to be thinking about shooting and guns and armies and war all of the things that we are famous for.
Yeah, and then what we do is the very day that they announce their release date, that's when we announce ours, is going to be exactly one day before theirs.
Right.
So, hey, you excited for this year's opportunity to play a big AAA game about shooting guns? Well, we're available a day earlier, so, pick ours up. Don't wait 24 hours. You're going to get so much FOMO having to wait 24 hours to play theirs. Buy ours. It's here today. Play ours and forget about, you're not going to need 2 games 2 days back to back. Buy ours, forget about the other one.
Right. And on top of that, we can, maybe put in a whole thing of, if you pay an extra $30, you can play the game early by 3 days. So we really fully stamp on all of their glory.
We just stamp on the whole week that is leading up to them. Forget about them, it's all about us.
Yeah, and then once we've absolutely crushed them, we sneak in and buy them.
You're a fucking genius.
I know. Sin.
Oh.
Sin.
Oh, hello. Oh, you're some kind of demon.
Yes, I'm here to corrupt you.
Oh.
Do something naughty. Go on.
Oh, like what? Like rob a bank? Or
that person over there who looks like they're worse off than you.
Okay.
Empathize.
Sorry, what?
Empathize. Commit the sin of empathy.
That's a sin, is it?
Apparently so now, so go on, do it.
Oh, I'm so naughty. Would you like some money? Can I do anything to help? Your situation seems pretty rough, and I'm sorry to hear that. Can I do anything to make your day better?
We got you.
Evil.
Oh, corrupted. Your soul's been corrupted.
I think my soul's been corrupted a while.
Your soul is corrupted. Oh, empathize with that person now. Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Virtual Justice Warriors.
Virtual Justice Warriors?
Yeah. Right, Larry.
Right, Barry. How you doing?
Well, a bit sore, mate, and also a bit wonky about time and stuff.
Oh, yeah, the clock's changing's really sort of thrown my sense of location in time around a bit.
Yeah. You doing alright?
Doing alright. I've been wrestling with some weird emotions, I've been trying I could, if I could suplex my emotions, you know I would.
Yeah, I mean, if you can suplex a train, you could probably suplex an emotion.
Right. Now, I've been. It's a weird one. I've got someone in my life who has historically not been great.
Right.
And recently, been showing signs of being better.
Oh, right.
And, like, you know, I got weird feelings about that, because, like, you know, it's been repeated in a couple of times now, where I'm like, oh, this does seem like a genuine change in behaviour. And, I don't want to punish the behaviour I want to see. I want to give space for genuine improvement to happen. And to be like, well, the response I should have to that is, is to engage with it and to be happy that it's happened. Yeah. But, when stuff's been bad in the past, you can still have those sort of walls of like, I'm still a little defensive.
Yeah, I've had problems with a parent in the past, and I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, and that, in my case, certainly turned out to be a poor choice. Yeah. And has ultimately led to estrangement. But I can understand wanting to give someone the benefit of the doubt, but obviously every individual is different, and maybe obviously circumstances and so forth. You never know what's happened to someone in the times as you haven't been speaking to.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like I've been in a similar situation of like this person. I'd almost got to the point of like being ready to be done with having anything to do with them. It was very sort of, this relationship is very much done. Yeah. I didn't expect myself to be open, to have space to be open for maybe this person's improving.
No. And from what you've said, it has sounded like they've either they've done a lot of work, or they've
had a scare, maybe.
That's obviously like
some sort of life shock,
something that has shocked them into being a better person. Were they perhaps visited by three spirits?
Oh, that was my running theory. He got Scrooged. I saw the past, present, and future, and now I'm having to change my ways or whatever. But like, whatever it be, I think it's possible to simultaneously go, I believe that people can change and improve, and that there should be room for that, and that punishing people who are improving is not going to encourage them to keep doing the improvement they're doing. While still going, I'm allowed to have my wall here, because historically, that is a relationship where trusting them to be better hasn't paid off. And, it's just, it's a complicated feeling to work through.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, mate. Especially when you're on that cusp of, I think I'm done with this person.
Yeah, I thought I was done, and apparently we're still on the hook, and we're still going a little longer.
And it does certainly sound like this person's like making a more concerted effort than any previous seeming, and certainly making it less about themselves and more about the other people in their life.
Yeah, well, that's
other people almost not in their life.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's just I've not got any grand revelations other than it's. I think it can be possible to both want to give people space to be better while also going, I've got to keep at least a little wall up here in case it's not.
You want a little bit of self-defense, because of obviously past experience. Also, you want to give person the space to actually make the change. I know they talk a lot about this with like cult deprogramming and things like that. You've got to be willing to, accept growth and so forth, while also going, you were a terrible person, and you don't have to expect everyone to forgive you, but, also we do want to give you a chance to change.
Yeah.
How's it, mate?
Oh, yeah.
Good on, mate. Good luck. Right, I think I'll go and pop the kettle on.
Oh, sounds good.
Nice. So, Laura,
Yes?
you do things on the internet.
I do.
Where do you find these things?
Oh, I find these things. Where do I find these things? I find them when I do them.
Where do we find these things? Where do we, the general unwashed public, find them?
People who aren't me would find them at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. Things you can find at the moment that I've done. Put a video up on YouTube that'll be up by the time you hear this about making a 3D printed Joy-Con holder for the Switch 2 for mouse mode that is freely available. That you
Peripherals for that definitely unrevealed console.
Yeah. Look, at the time we record this, it's not been an announced feature, but like the Nintendo Today app kind of like pointed at it real clearly the other day. So, yeah, if you want 3D print files that should work for finalized Joy-Con for the Switch 2 to make mouse mode a little more comfortable, that's the thing, and maybe more stuff to come in the future. Check that video out on YouTube at Laura K. Buzz. We have been on an episode of Fix Your Heart or Die together that's now available.
We were on episode number Z.
Yes, we were on the April 1st episode.
Yes.
We talked about the Sonic OVA from the 90s.
Yeah, and how it is very definitely related to Twin Peaks.
Very sincerely, it is Twin Peaks.
Yep, 100%.
That's real fun. I'm glad. People seem to have really enjoyed that. I'm glad that
I had a great time recording it.
I posted it, and there was a lot of people going, thank you for doing an April Fool's Day thing that isn't just, you told a lie and I believed it. It's like, no, you did
we had sincere thoughts about a thing we care about.
Sincere thoughts about a very silly thing.
Yeah.
So go check that out. Just Laura K. Buzz, you'll find all the stuff I'm up to.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Jane? Where are you on the internet?
Well, I don't have unified branding, but I do have a link tree. It's linktree.ee/Janiac, Janieiac. You can find all of the things that I've done. You can also find me on Humans Holler at News. You can find us on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, and wherever all good podcasts are found, where we talk about news stories in a light-hearted manner. We try to find nice or fun or haha moments of news. Lots of very cute cats recently. Lots of animal stories. We like talking about cute animals and rewilding and good environmental things like that. And yeah, you can find us on Humans Holler at News, and you can find me on patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio. As little as $1 a month really helps. That's all from me, Laura.
Yeah.
You sing us out, please, darling.
Until next time, be a stranger.